Alright, a little bit of Humvee action. Gonna completely delete the fan and delete the second power steering pump I have on the truck, as well as replace the intercooler with a smaller one. Piping's not going to be ideal as far as the bends go. I'd rather use a V-mount, but I'm going to use one side in, one side out because I have it on hand, and it's the appropriate size for what I'm trying to do. Plus, I'm going to swap out the turbo with I currently have a GT35 VB. I'm going to swap down to a GT30RX, which is a much smaller exhaust side turbo, but it'll give me the low-end spool that I want. Theoretically, it should flow just fine for what I'm trying to do, because as it sits in the truck, only does, what, 3,000 RPMs. So it should do alright, but we'll monitor exhaust temperatures just to see how it works. Completely experimental. There's no science behind this. I'm just throwing something on there. Also, since the fan was already blown half apart anyway, I got to move all that not AC, but radiator stuff anyway to fab the fan setup I want to use. I'm using a one out of Chris Fowler's handbook and using a Crown Victoria 2 high and low speed 65 amp electric fan with my coolant system, as well as the amount of CFM that flows naturally from the engine at idle and lower speeds when you're going slow off-road. This should be optimal for what I'm trying to accomplish. This rigged up power steering system I have, it would work if the pulley was aligned right probably, and maybe the correct belts, but I constantly am having problems with it throwing off because I just haven't taken the time to mess with it. And honestly, I'd like to simplify it down anyway. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling this off all together, simplifying it with the original factory belt setup, bypassing the hydraulic fan altogether, and using just the power steering on the other side, running my brakes and my power steering, which already is going to have a significant improvement in power, just because the plumbing setup will be way simpler. The plumbing setup on these, obviously, as you know, goes through the Cadillac valve. Well, all this other stuff that's going on, unless you have working through one thing, the better. So Hydro Boost, power steering, it should make a significant, it should be reliable. That's the main thing. Like, trail reliability is everything, and the more you complicate this stuff, the more you're going to end up having problems. And as Nate and a couple other guys that have had the pleasure of riding with me and putting belts on 3 or 4 times, because we keep throwing them off when I put this thing as high as I can, it's not a good time. So also, the smaller intercooler will fit in the top. I'm using this cheap eBay thing. It's not pretty good quality for what it is. I mean, it should be fine. It's going to mount upside down right there, and I'm just going to go in and out on this side and the other, and it'll clear these so I don't have to worry about the damage that I'm incurring from my fans. I mean, I beat the crap out of this thing, and it bounces up all the time, so it hasn't punctured a hole, but it's not something I want to deal with in the future. So, but also this cooler will come off, because I'm running one now for the power steering as it was. Originally, when I had hydro on here, I just left it on there and then plumbed a second cooler just to have one for each pump. Well, now that they're one of the pump, I can simplify all those hoses too. So it should be a heck of a lot simpler, a whole lot more power steering, well, hopefully, theoretically. Better flow on the turbo. It'll spool a hell of a lot faster, so I should see boost, hopefully just above idle. That's what my goal is. I'm only going for 8 psi. The wastegate's set at 8. It's an internally wastegated turbo, so it'll simplify the exhaust system a little bit too. But I'm not going for a high performance kind of thing. I want the boost to actually do its job. So once I get that other turbo off, put all this on, it should be a lot more reliable, and we'll maybe see a pretty good improvement on the performance side. Because the thing is, with the turbo size that I have on the road, I have the time to build up the boost, and it spools pretty good. Like, it's not too bad for a road use. For off-road use, I'm just not realizing the boost that I want to realize, because I don't stay in it that long most of the time. 5 to 10 seconds max, usually, maybe 20 seconds on a hard pull, because if you're sitting on an obstacle and you're trying to go hard on something and just sitting there going at it, you know pretty quickly whether or not you're going to be able to go through it, and usually it's over within a couple seconds. So sitting in there for a long period of time is just not what this setup is designed for. As far as street reliability for this one, I think this turbo would be a good fit, but I actually think that when I start working on the street version of this kit, after I've dialed out all of this, it will likely be GX35 turbo from a Cummins instead of that, because a lot of guys with 6.2s and 6.5s that have custom turboed their stuff because these engines have been around, been tuned and messed with for years, and they've never been big power gainers, but people have proven results on just mechanically based, non-electronic setups and getting easy power without doing a whole lot of tuning and a whole lot of extra work. So, and that's what most people are going to want. So I hope the goal is that simplify this thing, realize good boost, make sure I get good boost leak fixes and all that, and see where she goes. Wish me luck.